For the first time in forever. Don't judge. College football is back. So exciting. Let's go. So many beautiful matchups this week. I mean, they're just so beautiful. They're just absolutely beautiful. Just absolutely gorgeous matchups. This is probably the most excited I've ever been to make a video. Just so many gorgeous matchups. Just so attractive these matchups are. Let's start off with one on Friday night. Kansas State versus number 8 Stanford. Sure, Kansas State kind of has been looking a little weak in the last couple of years. However, they could maybe put up a fight. I would say they could have a chance in the game if Stanford did not have Christian McCaffrey. I've got to go with Stanford. I got to go with Christian McCaffrey making an early mark for the Heisman watch. I'm going with about 300 total yards of offense just from Christian McCaffrey. Although we're going to see how Stanford's new quarterback does, that would be exciting to see. Now let me just note that I had about a 71% accuracy last year of predicting matchups. This year the goal is 80%. So I was originally going to do 10 matchups a week, but I have 11. Again, don't judge. But there's just not that many good matchups for next week. In fact, I can only point out about 3 or 4 that are good next week. So I thought about doing 11 since it's just such a beautiful weekend. I mean, just so exciting. I'm excited just by talking right now. So the goal is 80%. All right, next matchup, Missouri and West Virginia. Now I'm interested in this matchup because this is just some pretty solid SEC versus Big 12. I mean, the Big 12 knowing for great offense and the SEC for great defense. This is kind of a... This could be two foes starting. This could be a good non-conference rivalry, if you admit. Because these are two teams that left a conference to join another conference. But I have West Virginia in this one. I want to pick Missouri really badly, but I just think West Virginia's offense, led by Skylar Howard, is just going to be too strong. I think West Virginia is going to have to a good start in the season, and I think it's going to be a huge lift. All right, BYU and Arizona. Now this one is going to be really late in the night. I probably won't have time to watch this one. But it's just such a great matchup because there's just two strong quarterbacks. I mean, BYU is a team that could really spoil some seasons. I mean, they have opportunities to spoil things for other teams. BYU should actually join a conference or at least consider joining one. Maybe they could join the Pac-12. But they'd have to get another team to join the Pac-12 as well. Or they can be a part of the Big 12 expansion. BYU has just such talented players on the roster, and so does Arizona. But I got to pick BYU in this one. I just think the momentum from last year is going to carry over into this year. All right, on to the good ones. On to the ones that we've been waiting months for. We've been waiting ever since we saw Nick Saban hoist another national championship trophy. We've been waiting for these ones for months. So let's get this over with. Number 3, Oklahoma versus number 15, Houston. This is a wonderful matchup here because Baker Mayfield and Greg Ward Jr., two dynamic quarterbacks going at it. This is basically the kickoff to what's going to be an epic season of college football. But I got to pick Oklahoma. I think they got a lot to prove this year after that devastating loss into the semifinal against Clemson last year. Baker Mayfield's got a lot to prove. Houston's got a lot to prove as well, but I just think Oklahoma's just going to want this game more. Houston can play a spoiler. I do think Houston has a chance in this one, but I think Oklahoma's going to pull through right at the end. I think we're going to kind of see a reenactment of OU Tennessee last year. So I like Oklahoma to pull it out, probably in the end, overtime, if it's necessary. All right, UCLA and the Texas A&M Aggies. Now, you would think that Texas A&M could be a favorite in this one. In fact, I would consider it too, since it's in Kyle Field, and A&M has a lot more talent on their roster than UCLA does. I mean, Texas A&M's defense is going to be It's going to be really intimidating this year. Probably one of the top 5 defenses in all of college football. I mean, you got Myles Garrett, who's probably going to be a consensus number 1 draft pick, depending on how you look at things, or depending on which NFL team gets the worst record in the league. I mean, you got Deshaun Hall, probably a future top 10 pick. I mean, you got Justin Evans, Amani Watts, probably future first or second round picks. Just so much talent. And on the offensive side, you got Trevor Knight with something to prove. He's got 1 year. This could be the year Texas sneaks into the SEC championship game. I know I kind of ranted about it last December, and how they don't really have a chance and how they go 3-9 this year. But I think since they signed Trevor Knight, I've had hope in these Aggies. And I think they're going to start out the season strong with a huge win against UCLA. All right, number 5 LSU versus Wisconsin. Leonard Fournette taking on the Wisconsin Badgers. Because LSU kind of has some inconsistency at the quarterback position. So the best thing Wisconsin can do is stack the box against Leonard Fournette. That is really the best thing you can do at the moment. Because I honestly don't see Wisconsin necessarily being able to stop the run as efficiently as they want. Because yes, the Big Ten is known for aggressive defense. I could see this being a defensive battle, but in the end, I think LSU gets a 3-point victory against these Badgers. I like Leonard Fournette to have a solid game. I don't think he's going to have a dynamic game like Christian McCaffrey will this Friday night. But I like Leonard Fournette to have a monster game. I'm going to say it's going to be a low-scoring game than what most people think. I'm going to go for 27-17. In fact, I kind of changed my mind about LSU winning by 3 points. That could happen, but I like it to actually be 27-17. False advertisement, I apologize. Just an exciting video, I'm just telling you. Number 18, Georgia versus 22, North Carolina. This is a wonderful matchup, too. A battle of 2 strong running backs, Nick Chubb versus Elijah Hood. This is going to be really, really exciting to watch. Probably 2 of the most underrated running backs in all of college football going at it. In fact, I like these 2 combined for maybe over 350 yards of offense for their respective, for this respective game. You know what I mean. Okay, let me rephrase that. I like Nick Chubb and Elijah Hood to combine for 350 rushing yards. I can see that totally happening. But in the end, I like Nick Chubb and the Georgia Bulldogs to overcome the North Carolina Tar Heels. I know North Carolina has a lot to prove after that dominating performance last year. But I like Nick Chubb to kind of pull it out for the Georgia Bulldogs in the 4th quarter. All right. USC versus number 1 Alabama. Do the Trojans have a chance in this one? I think they could, maybe if they can get a solid drive, their first drive of the game. Most teams really get nervous. In fact, let me just preview real quickly on all these games. Don't be surprised if most teams just start off with running plays. Because most quarterbacks can be so nervous, they want to just hand the ball off to the running back just to kind of get a play out of the way, to set the tone for games, take the nerves, ease the blood a little bit. So look for USC to try to make an effort on their first 2 drives. I feel like if USC wants to have a chance, their defense has got to stop out. They got to hold Alabama scoreless in the first quarter. If they can do that, they got a chance. The other chance they need, they got to score on one of their first 3 drives. Whether if it's a field goal or a touchdown, you just got to score. You got to get the momentum while you can. But I don't think it's going to be enough. I like Alabama to win this one. I'm going to say 37-17. All right, number 2, Clemson versus Auburn. Clemson being led by Deshaun Watson. Probably the consensus best quarterback in college football, with a lot to prove. I see Deshaun Watson being fueled by fire. Although we kind of saw Deshaun Watson struggle against SEC defenses, especially the Alabama defense, but he did all right. He didn't do too bad. If probably one of his 3 mistakes, if he probably would have knock it down a turnover less, maybe pull it out. I think I think Deshaun Watson's going to eat up this Auburn secondary. I think he's just going to eat it up. In fact, I like Clemson to just rout Auburn. In my opinion, I kind of said it was going to be a trap game in the kind of earlier in the year, like in May. But now that I look at it, I see Deshaun Watson field by fire. I think he's going to eat up this Auburn secondary. In fact, the entire Auburn defense. So I think Clemson's going to blow them out. Maybe 41-14. I don't know, maybe 38-20. Most realistic. Closest I can get is probably 38-27. Number 10, Notre Dame versus the Texas Longhorns. Notre Dame, we have no idea who's going to start at quarterback. Whether it's going to be Deshaun Kaiser or Malik Zaire. This is my dark horse to make the playoffs. If you did not see my preseason, like my season preview, I said Notre Dame was going to find their way into the playoffs. Because Notre Dame's schedule is kind of easy if you look at it compared to years before. In fact, with Texas, I think you're going to put a bigger fight this year than 38-3. I still think Notre Dame is going to win, but I see Texas scoring a lot more points than just 3. I still think Notre Dame's going to win. I'm gonna give some hope for Texas a little bit. I think they're probably going to compete with them in the first quarter, maybe the first half, but I just think Notre Dame is going to pull away in the second. All right, the final matchup of the first weekend of college football, Labor Day night, number 11 Ole Miss versus number 4 Florida State. Now, Ole Miss, they had a wonderful year last year. It's absolutely wonderful. These are both New Year's 6 teams last year. Ole Miss upset Alabama for the second year in a row last year. Florida State, they were kind of plagued by their quarterback situation, and now they have Sean McGuire missing the first 4 to 6 weeks. Around the first maybe 3 to 4 games of the year. But I still think this is going to be a defensive battle. In fact, don't be surprised if it's really low scoring at the end, maybe 20-14. But I like Dalvin Cook and the Florida State Seminoles to pull it out against Ole Miss. So let's recap my winners for the week. I like Stanford to beat Kansas State. I like West Virginia to beat Missouri. I like BYU to beat Arizona. I like number 3 Oklahoma to beat Houston. Although I think Houston might make it a tough one for OU, I think Oklahoma's going to have to earn this one. I like Texas A&M to upset UCLA, kind of like just because of the rankings. I like LSU to beat Wisconsin. I like Georgia to just pull it out against North Carolina. I like Alabama to kind of rout USC. I like Clemson to kind of rout Auburn a little bit. I like Notre Dame to beat Texas, and I like Florida State to beat Ole Miss in kind of a low-scoring game, maybe 20-14, like I said a minute ago. All right, so that is going to do it. Comment below your winners for these matchups. I mean, these are just beautiful matchups. Probably the best opening weekend in college football history. Couldn't have asked for anything better. All right, like and subscribe to the channel. Share this with your fellow college football fans. Woo! Just going to be an exciting week. Exciting weekend. I can't wait for it. I can't wait to see how all these matchups turn out. It's just so exciting to think about. I'm hyped. I hope you're hyped as well. This is going to be a great season. Let's go. I will see you next time. Have a good day, everybody. Enjoy your first weekend of college football 2016.